Hi there, welcome to Update 6 and a very chilly week here in Belgium. This week's update is very kindly sponsored by Verba Tuinen, which is a company run by Bart Verdoort, and they specialise in landscape architecture and everything to do with earth removal. So any earthworks requiring huge machinery, he's the guy to call. This week we've been suffering mainly with the cold. As you can see, I'm kitted out for it. Don't go anywhere without my balaclava and ski jacket and overrider trousers and several layers underneath. About Thursday last week the temperatures went below zero. We had some snow on Friday and it hasn't stopped since, so it's a question of bringing water to the stables, several layers on the horses. The ground is frozen, which means we can't go hacking, we can't do any counter work. My lesson last Thursday was cancelled, and the competition we were supposed to do at the weekend was cancelled because of the snow and the cold. So it's all been a bit of a disaster really. However, as you can see, I put a head collar on him this week. On the Sunday, a friend and I who were planning on going to Bornival to jump at the show, we took her experienced one-star horse, William, and then an inexperienced trotter that she rides for an owner, to Bornival, where they let us hire their heated indoor arena, which was lovely. I've got footage of the exercise we built there, and it's a really useful training exercise, and it's got a number of benefits for horses and really at all levels, which was great considering the different horses we had there. As you can see from the first bit of the video, it's 4 cross poles, but you can basically think of it as 2 pairs of cross poles set through 2 corners, and the pairs are set 3 strides apart. Now in this arena, this meant that it created a double which was just 1 stride apart. However, if you've got a bigger place, you can extend the distance at this point. The double itself was at about 6 meters, and then through the turn, depending on how you walked it obviously, it was, let me think about this, 16 paces of mine, but that's at normal walking pace, not striding to make a meter. I basically count 2 for landing and 2 for takeoff, and then 4 for each stride in between. So as you can see, when William starts going through it, I've chosen his easy rein, which is the right rein. You can see the first time we misjudge it, especially the first turn ever so slightly, but then already by the second time he's going through better. Now you'll see we take our more difficult rein, the left rein. He's stiffer that way and I'm stiffer that way, and the problem we have, which is highlighted by this exercise, which it's really, really good for, is that he tends to load his left shoulder and dive around the corner on his left shoulder. And I tend to mimic that, putting my left shoulder forward to block the movement, to prevent him cutting the corner too much and arriving on the wrong stride at the fence. However, it's a short-term solution because it blocks the whole left side of his body and prevents the inside hind leg from stepping through. So, because the fences are so small in this exercise and it has a suppling effect anyway, it also gives me the time to think of actually bringing my left shoulder back through the exercise and helping him to bend around my inside leg on the turn. To finish this exercise, I brought the 2 middle cross poles together to make an oxer. The first time, I wasn't actually sure what kind of striding this would give from the cross poles, but we kept everything small, just, to really allow for things like this. And it worked out as quite a nice 4 strides and 4 strides. So what I could really feel, even though again we kept it small, seeing as he'd actually jumped 2 days earlier, he was, the cross poles had a suppling effect and had really opened up his back, especially behind the saddle, and he was really, I felt, using his back end over the oxer, and that's really good for him because he has a tendency to block ever so slightly and stiffen the back over a fence, especially oxers. And especially if they're small, he doesn't really make much effort usually. But here you can see he's actually opening up the back and really using his back end nicely over the fence, and it gives a really nice feel to the rider. It makes them work incredibly hard. You shouldn't underestimate how difficult it is for them physically, as well as being quite mentally stimulating for them. For instance, 2 days earlier we'd been to another venue that we'd hired a venue, and I'd done some normal grid work in a straight line, and he was jumping, pretty big fences and no sweat. He wasn't puffing. He was absolutely fine. Doing this little exercise, and we didn't do a huge amount more than what's on the videos. It really made him, he was sweating, he was puffing a bit. It was, obviously quite a hard workout for him. He's so frustrated that he has it. Meanwhile, Missy is getting highly frustrated. She's getting quite difficult in the stable, tries to help me with the mucking out, and especially when I shake the straw down. But she's, I can understand that she's frustrated. She's also perfecting her variation on weaving, which we call bob weave. It's very interesting because her mother weaved, but I don't think there would ever have been an opportunity whilst Missy was a foal for her to have seen her mother weaving, because she only did it in specific situations. So it must be a genetic thing that she's predisposed to weave, or bob weave as she does. Anyway, thanks very much for watching this week, and we hope to see you next week.